This is the Barnes opening, and it's just about the most atrocious move you can play on move 1. Look at the evaluation bar, it's already gone to 1.2, 1.1 now. You know, it's like you're giving your opponent an extra pawn. That's how much the computer hates it. But it's what Magnus Carlsen played in the recent title Tuesday. So his opponent here is Tan Minh Lee, a Vietnamese grandmaster, and Magnus just playing with his food with that opening move. So we get the principled e5. By the way, please excuse my voice. Late night for me last night, but we're cracking on with chess here. The knights develop, and now we get e4. Fighting for the center, okay, fair enough. But bishop c5 targets this weakened diagonal, and still the computer hates white's position purely due to king safety. So knight g to e2 played, a6 giving this bishop some retreat room, now knight g3, d6 played, and bishop c4. All very natural, but now the computer doesn't love this next move. You know, it wants to develop a piece here, but bishop e6 played, challenging that strong piece of Magnus's. So takes was played, shatters the pawn structure, does relinquish a little bit of black advantage, but you cover these squares which the knights wanted to hop to, so there is some points to it. We get pawn d3 now, knight g to e7, and now this knight hops back to e2. You could have carried on developing, but Magnus wants to fight for the center, and black goes wrong because we get castles, pawn c3, and now you should go pawn d5. The computer says you have to fight for that central space, but this knight comes to g6, we get d4, and Magnus is fighting back. Look at these pawns here, a nice kind of party hat formation with these two in the center. We get captures, pawn recaptures, the bishop drops back, and now bishop to e3. Magnus is suddenly coming right back into this game, still black not fighting for the center, white's got the pawns here, and after queen f6, guess what? Castles, e5, and the computer is preferring white here, saying they're better, because Magnus now checks, the king sidesteps, he's just covered his bishop, and so now he captures this pawn. You can also push on with d5 here, different options, but Magnus, he loves a weakened pawn structure, which is what we see after this sequence of moves. He can now target e5, but black's got some counterplay ideas on these dark squares. So rook fd1 played, this rook challenges the file, very natural. We get queen b3, and this is Carlsen now going to work like a surgeon, probing, precision. Watch this queen snaking across the board. a6 now targeted, so b5, the queen lands on c5 here. This knight now hops to d4, and it's a great move. Black looking for counterplay, and you don't want to capture this pawn because you actually open lines for the enemy pieces. Here comes the invasion, black's doing well. So Magnus doesn't touch it. He takes on d4 here, but hang on, a passed pawn for black. This can get dangerous. Now Magnus, he relinquishes his advantage here. He's about 0.4 better, as you can see, or 0.6 now. But what he plays here is rook to d2, not knight h5, the preferred move. And after knight f4, we now get the rooks doubling, coming in front of the pawn, and this knight hops back, hits the queen, and there's something really aesthetically pleasing about a knight on the 6th here, or a knight on the 3rd. You know, they're octopuses, defensive, attacking, they spring in all directions. And now here black makes a mistake. So the pawn should be covered with rook a8, but instead rook d6 is played, looks a lot more active, but there's a concrete problem. After knight f5, the rook is attacked, and if you slide to c6, let's say, well then the d pawn drops, and that's a big problem. So the rook has to retreat, stay with the d pawn, but now this pawn drops. Magnus has won a queen pawn? Clean pawn. How does he do this stuff? He's a Houdini. Doesn't matter what he plays in the opening. But queen e5, here comes the queen centralizing. I mean, a centralized queen, look at it, like a black widow spider, 8 legs in all directions. Black wants counterplay on the dark squares. The pawn is passed. We get a4 now from Magnus, peeling things open on the queen side. Captures is played. queen recaptures, and now c5. That is a nice structure. And so Magnus, he blockades these pawns, and he's threatening now pawn b4 to break those ones up. What should black do here? Well, as I'm drawing there, going rook b8 or rook a8 is the more active plan. But g6 is played, getting rid of the knife on f5, yes, but encouraging that knight to hit e7, where it then heads for this juicy d5 outpost. And now what to do as black? It's tricky. This move is played a little bit passive. It encourages the knight into d5. We get queen g5 looking for play against that king. So king h1 played, and here comes the h-pawn. Black wants to use that one to rip open the king like a tin of beans. We get b4 played, captures, queen takes back, h4, here comes the tin opener. So Magnus goes h3. You can't let this pawn get all the way down, force g3, then f3 gets weak. So rook f7 from black, looking to double, create threats to Magnus's king. Queen d6 now played, looking to attack, covering some weakened dark squares, and after king h7, rook c2 looking to activate, black now hops in, challenges the ladies, and what does Magnus do? Well, defends with his rook. He could also go queen c6 according to the engine as a good move, but this one's still good, keeps some advantage, and now black goes for a tactic, but it doesn't quite work. They play the move of rook takes on f3. Better was simply swapping the queens, but white remains a bit ahead. Now the problem with this, well, if you take the rook, then you're doing great as black. You're winning because, sorry, not taking there, it takes there, check. And after the king goes, you check again, force it back, win the rook with check, and black's doing great here. But Magnus isn't obliged to capture this rook. He can take the queen off the board. Now, if pawn captures, well, you're taking the rook and you're a rook ahead. And if rook captures, can you see the tactic here that has just become available? Now the rook has left this f-file. Well, Magnus, of course, lands it. He goes knight f6 check. This is child's play to him. The rook drops off, and look at this. He's a clean rook ahead. This is a mop-up job. Now the pawn goes, and even the knight drops. Black was so low on time. A crushing game. Magnus can play what he wants. Short and sweet today. I hope you enjoyed. Smash subscribe to never miss a future video, and I hope to see you again soon. Cheers.